everyone, welcome to Brutally Honest with Jasmine Brand. Today, our guest needs no introduction, literally. Singer, songwriter, and producer, Kenneth Babyface Edmonds. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Super excited to have you here. I like to first ask our guests about their upbringing and their childhood because I know it kind of relates to who you are as an artist. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and your upbringing?
What you want to know about it?
Just how kind of went into music.
I was, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. I kind of had a musical family, but everybody didn't. It was like my mom could sing a little bit, my dad sang a little bit. They didn't necessarily sing around the house. I saw my dad recording into a tape recorder once, but other than that, it wasn't like we always walked around singing. But my brother Melvin, who's not with us anymore, but he was in After Seven. Beautiful voice.
Yes.
And I just loved to follow him, and he would walk around the house singing, and he had a band called the Soul Innovations. And
what's the age difference between you and Melvin? What was the age
difference? It was probably about 4 years.
Okay.
And he was just good, and the band was really good. And when I saw him in the band, it was something that I wanted to do.
Okay.
He brought a guitar in the house one day, and he told nobody to touch it. And of course, I touched it when he would leave, and that's where I just kind of started, messing around playing chords. He used to play this little song that I just loved, these chords that I just tried to learn how to play, and I figured out what those chords were, and I put purpose to it because in 6th grade there was this girl that came, new girl that came to school, and she got on the bus, and I fell in love right at that moment, and went home and started writing a diary about her, and then I wrote a song. And
what was her name?
Rhonda,
okay. And so I usually ask, and I was going to ask, I feel like you answered this. I feel like kids are drawn to certain things as a child. Some kids are into sports, some kids are into arts, and you were into music. Was it because of the proximity, because your brother, or was it because of Rhonda, or?
Both.
It was a combination.
A little bit of both. The songwriting came because of Rhonda, because I wanted to write a song, because I don't know why, but I did. And I wrote a song called Here I Go Falling in Love. And
in 6th grade?
6th grade, yeah. And so that was the beginning.
Okay.
And my brother Melvin, he was like, I said he had this group called the Soul Innovations. And my first time on stage was because Melvin decided that he wanted one of us, being my brother Kevon or myself, to sing at this homecoming at the high school. And so I had to go against Kevon at the time.
Okay.
And I beat him at the time. I would not beat him today, but I beat him at the time. And I won the chance to go sing Michael Jackson, Who's Loving You, at the homecoming. And I still remember. Because when I get introduced, they played I Want You Back as I came up to the stage. And every now and then when I hear I Want You Back, I still get nervous. It's just that feeling.
It takes you back there.
Takes me way back.
Yeah. I was going to ask, do you get nervous, but when you were younger, if you got nervous?
Yeah, and I still get nervous sometimes too.
Do you?
Yeah.
What kind of environment gets you nervous?
Just not knowing what I'm walking into.
Yeah.
The audience that's out there, whether they're with you or not, and whether you're whether you're in shape for it, and whether you can get into the zone so you can have a personality, not be boring and all that. There's so many things that are part of it. So
yeah.
Nervousness can come up anytime.
But it's not always, though. It's not consistent.
It's not always, but it's always possible to come.
Okay. I know, as a child, what did you're a legend, you're an icon now, but as a child, what did you think was the goal for you? Was it, I just want to be in band, or?
The goal was to just hear your songs on the radio. I didn't grow up thinking that if you do this, then you can buy yourself a car, buy yourself a big house. That was not part of it. It was all about just hearing it on the radio. Okay,
so the goal was to hear it on the radio. So I know that Heartbreak has helped you write songs, because you mentioned that. Do you think if you grew up without Heartbreak, do you think you would be this prolific songwriter?
I don't.
Really?
I don't. I think that it was being emotional at that age, not necessarily showing it to everybody, just having those feelings inside is what allowed me to kind of go to the point to try to understand, even from a girl's perspective, if your heart being broken, that whole thing, just feelings are feelings either way,
right.
boy or girl. And so I think just being over exaggerating my feelings is what made me be able to imagine how to write a song and write a lyric in the first place.
But what made you think, I have this feeling, I like this girl,
right?
Let me write about her. Like what made you think to do that?
That I don't know. I don't know what was, because the funny thing was, what was powerful about that is that it wasn't about sex. It was about just this feeling of, I wanted to hold her hand, but I didn't want to do anything beyond that because I didn't know anything beyond that.
Right.
The kids were coming to school in 6th grade. They were coming to school saying, "Yeah, I just got me some," and I didn't. And they said the word. I don't know if they say that on here, and they said, "I just got me some." So I looked up the word.
Yeah.
In the dictionary because I had no idea what they were talking.
With all them brothers, you didn't know?
No, they didn't tell me nothing. And so I just looked it up, and the closest thing I could find to it back in those days, it wouldn't have been in the dictionary, was pus, and the description of that was a yellowy discharge.
Oh my gosh.
So I didn't want to have anything to do with that for a very long time.
Right. That doesn't sound fun.
No, it didn't. And so my feelings were all based off of just what you imagine love to be.
Right.
And what you imagine the feelings to be, but they were powerful. And the whole idea is that when you're young and you think you feel whatever like that, those feelings are so powerful.
Yeah.
So puppy love is like, it's strong.
Yeah.
And so for years, whenever I write love songs, I try to get myself in that zone to try to remember how that felt, because it's so powerful in terms of that feeling, the new feeling.
Did Rhonda ever hear the lyrics, hear the song,
She never heard the song.
Okay. Whatever happened to the song?
I never recorded or anything. I do have a lyric sheet that my mom had found years ago of it. And the Bitter Taste of Life, I still know that. I know both of the songs to this day. I could play them if I had a guitar here. Do we have a guitar here? I didn't think so. But they stuck with me in that sense.
Okay. And then Rhonda never heard the song?
Rhonda never heard the song, any of the songs. And I did end up, there's a whole story with that.
Okay.
And I ended up talking to her years later to see what she remembered about this whole little 6th grade to 8th grade time period.
Okay.
Long story short, I ended up meeting with her years later, and she said something pretty powerful to me, because I had said to her, as a kid, I was like crazy about her, and then she didn't know that, but she kind of had just kind of said to me, "I'm going to start going steady with somebody else, and can we just be friends? We can be just friends." And that was like, it destroyed me at the time.
Right.
And what she said to me at the time, she said, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know that at the time." She said, "I spent most of my life thinking about the people that hurt me opposed to the people that I hurt."
Right.
And it was a powerful thing for her to say that to me, because it really affected her. And I said, ultimately, I kind of said back to her that, well, thank you for that pain, because that was the birth of 1,000 songs that
literally
that literally came after that. So once again, it was young, so it wasn't completely serious, but it's the whole idea. It's the idea of love.
Yeah. Do you still remember that feeling though? With the feeling that you had for her?
I don't think as a kid, you know those are powerful feelings.
Right.
So you try to go back there and you remember as much as you can, but you can't feel it the same way that when kids first fall in love and they think it's everything.
Yeah. And it's not.
It's not, but it is at the time.
It feels. Do you remember your first breakup? Like your first heartbreak, I guess?
That was my first heartbreak.
That was your first heartbreak?
It wasn't really deserved.
Bootsy Collins named you Babyface. How did that come about?
It was really simple. We were in the studio doing demos with him. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was KO and L.A. Reid in the studio, and I just walked in. KO was playing bass, and I walked in, and Bootsy looked at me. He goes, "Yells at Babyface." And we've been looking for a nickname for me in the deal all the time, because everybody had cool names. It was D, Carlos, Stick, KO, LA, and Kenneth Edmonds. See, you laugh.
I mean, it's not. It's just.
I know that's how it was.
So you didn't have a nickname before Babyface?
No.
Okay. And so he said, oh, you just came in, he just kind of nonchalant said, oh, you have a...
He goes, no, he didn't say you have a baby. He just said Babyface.
I was like, that's your name.
And that, like it was already my name. And I didn't like it.
You didn't?
No, I didn't like it. And I didn't like it until we were out on the road, I think it's in about 85, and still Kenneth Edmonds and D, there used to be this song I would sing called Sweet November every night. And he'd say, get up to Kenny Edmonds, Kenneth Edmonds, whatever it was. And there'd be a little bit of love. And after the show, nobody was checking for me. And then one night he goes, give it up to Babyface. And that night I had more girls come out to ask, where's Babyface? So I liked my name, then I changed it.
I was going to ask you if Babyface wasn't your name. Did you have another name in mind that you think could have worked?
They were trying Romeo at one point.
Romeo.
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of can see that. No, yeah. I mean Babyface is better.
Yeah. It didn't stick, and it was Muskegon.
Muskegon.
Yeah. I know it doesn't make sense. It was my Pac-Man handle.
That's hilarious. Okay, so although you've achieved lots of success, do you have any at this point? Like, do you have any unfulfilled dreams?
I mean, I like being able to stay in the business and keep doing what I'm doing. I'm blessed enough to be able to still work, and have enough respect to where not only work with people in my age group, but people even not in my age group, and work with artists from different genres. And that's been my blessing, to be able to do that. And so my only dream is to be able to keep doing it in every way, in every place I can.
Okay. I want to talk about songwriting and records, but I'm going to take a break first and we'll be right back. Back to Brutally Honest with Jasmine Brand, and I'm here with Babyface. I want to get into songwriting and records. You've written hit records and you had your own hit records. At what point did you know that you could do both?
That's a hard question to answer, because I think that it's always been a work in progress. Even when you had your first hit, you still didn't know whether it would happen again. Okay. So I think, because I was in a group in early days in Manchild, and we had in Indianapolis, it was kind of a regional band. We had regional hits, and we got on the radio. We thought that was it.
Right.
It was gonna be, and it wasn't.
Right.
So there was a lot of up and downs throughout the process, and things didn't kick in till much later. Till probably the first hit that I think I was actually part of, that I was a songwriter on, was Slow Jam with Midnight Star.
Okay. So
writing that, but that was still not me as an artist, so to say. Okay. But I always kind of felt like I was a songwriter to begin with.
Okay.
So songwriter first, producer, then artist.
Okay.
So on the production side of it, I think started to believe in when I think we had our first hit with the Whispers.
Okay.
Rocksteady. That was like,
oh yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah. This might work.
Okay. So you helped produce that and write that, or
wrote and produced.
You wrote and produced that.
Yeah. And so that was when me and LA were producing together. And then we wrote the song. And then there was a whole group of songs that came with that, from The Boys, Down My Heart, and then Karen White and Johnny Gill and Pebbles and Bobby Brown. That all came around the same time.
What was so the Whisper song was the first hit, and then it just started to happen?
Yeah.
How did you know that you could produce though?
Didn't.
Okay.
We got to produce our second album on the deal by default, because Midnight Star, Reggie Calloway, who produced our first album, wasn't going to produce our second album. Okay. So by default, me and LA got the chance to produce our second album. Okay. And so just through trial and error, you just kind of like, you go for it and see
figure it out.
Yeah.
I think I heard in an interview that it was maybe Whitney Houston or something along those lines. She was the first artist to turn down a song that you had written. Did I hear that right?
No. That many turned down before. Yeah, I mean, there's throughout the years, I mean, there was always, writing songs and submitting them, and for a good while nobody was taking any of it.
Right. How long do you think before you start getting those yeses to those records?
You know, I've been writing forever, so it took forever. It was like 5-6 years, you know, just writing songs and
yeah, that's a while,
and maybe longer, you know.
That's a while to hear no.
Yeah, you couldn't hear no for a long time.
Yeah.
But you hear no to the point to where you think you get used to it, but you keep trying because some of those no's were well deserved no's. So you know, you just have to go back in and work on it again. Keep on working on your crafts.
Right.
There's some reason why they aren't taken. Why don't they like this song? So you listen to the radio. You listen to what everybody else is listening to, what they like. So you have to be able to judge yourself and not be so stuck on like, if I did it, then it's great.
Right.
And that's the only way you're gonna grow.
Right.
So those no's actually helped.
Okay.
You know, if in fact somebody would have taken something from the very beginning and our egos might have been like, we know exactly what we're doing, and that wouldn't have been the way.
Right. When you, obviously this was a long time ago, but during that 5 and 6 years, what do you think you all were doing wrong in terms of songwriting?
It was a question. It was a question of whether the beat was right, whether it was melodically all the way there.
Mm-hmm.
The demos. Sometimes I wouldn't really put it on myself. Like, for example, some songs were written long before they got to the artist. Like there's a song on Tevin Campbell's album, I'm Ready, which I wrote that when I was in high school.
Wow.
There's
wait a minute, you wrote I'm Ready in high school?
Yeah.
And then what year did he?
Maybe 20 years later.
Wow.
So, and then there was a song, the song Roni, that Bobby Brown, that was, Bobby didn't get it till 89. That song was written in 82.
Wow. So, okay.
So 82, 83, something like that.
So what do you just catalog the songs that whole time?
You have these ideas, you write them in the song, and you record them, and they're on these like little 4-track tapes, and they kind of sit and wait around for the right person.
And how do you know the right like how do you know? You just play everything, or you think like, oh?
Well, funny enough, Roni I never played for anybody else. It was just for Bobby when it finally got to him. Okay. And same thing with I'm Ready. I never really submitted it, so it's, I don't know what they call it, luck, whatever. It's just what was meant to be. Right. You know.
Do you remember? Do you remember playing it for Bobby, or did you play it for his man? Like, who did you play?
For Roni, yeah.
Okay.
It was here in LA.
Okay.
At probably on Highland, at this apartments that we used to have on Highland and Franklin. Okay. And he came to, I think, my apartment, 205.
205. Okay.
And
what was his reaction? Do you remember?
He liked it. Bobby was he liked what he heard, but he was unsure about us at that point, I think. Okay. When we were working with him, he wasn't sure that.
Was you in LA?
Yeah. Okay. He wasn't sure that we really had the touch, you know, and so because we were kind of new at that time, and
who was popping around that time when you all were new?
Well, Teddy was just starting to.
Okay.
Just starting to happen. And Teddy, I think. So it was. Teddy was younger, and you know we were walking around in suits. Okay. Yeah. So he was like.
Teddy had kind of like a jumpsuit on, like
well, you know, he was
tracksuit or something.
Of the time, and we were like in suits, and they're like, they don't know nothing.
Right.
But it wasn't really about so much the swing of it all. It was about these ballads. Right. Where they think, although, you know, every little step was a different kind of thing. Yes. And Don't Be Cruel. And there was Rock With You as well. So. But
the first one for Bobby that you all did was
Don't Be Cruel.
Don't Be Cruel. Yeah. Okay, that was the first one. All right.
That was the first one.
Okay. Do you remember? Well, Tevin was younger, so you probably didn't play it for him first.
Tevin came after Bobby.
Right. So but he was young, right?
Yeah. And but the first song that I did place on Tevin was I'm Ready. Okay. Yeah, that's a song that Quincy Jones heard, and he had called me and asked me if I would do some work on Tevin. And the fact that it was Quincy asking me that. Right. Oh my God, Quincy Jones.
Was this the first time he had asked you to write for one of his artists?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did that feel?
was like, oh my God, Quincy Jones must be the
Right.
ransom. So I wanted to give him something good.
Right.
And then recorded I'm Ready, and he really loved that. He said, you got to give me some more.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God, Quincy asked me to do some more. And
what was after that?
Can We Talk? So,
Yeah.
so
It's so funny because when you say the titles of the songs, I can hear the songs in my head.
That's
Isn't
great.
music weird like that? I mean, obviously you're a musician, so you get that, but I can literally.
No, that's great. I'm glad you think.
All right, let's take a beat and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Brutally Honest with Jasmine Brand, and I'm here with Babyface. I wanted to ask, I feel like I'm reminiscing because you were talking about all these songs. Okay. I wanted to ask about you working with Whitney Houston. What was the first record that you did for Whitney?
I'm Your Baby Tonight. And that was, she came down to Atlanta, and so we had already met her before that. But,
okay.
But so when she came down, it was kind of comfortable to go in the studio with her, so it was kind of friendly already.
Okay.
But and the actually recording the song was a lot of fun.
Okay, tell me about that. How is it recording a song? Is it like? So I'm about to say I'm Whitney. No, so Whitney, like, is it you already know the vibe she's on? You talk to her, like, are you like a therapist? You like, how do you know the vibe?
Normally, if we're trying to write on the spot, then we have a conversation, and I am like a therapist.
Right. You're calm like a therapist too.
Am I?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I usually try. We'll get in there and we'll dig into it.
Okay.
But this wasn't that case. The song was actually already written.
Okay.
And I think she already knew it because we had to send in a demo. Clive wouldn't have had her down there. That just wouldn't happen.
Okay.
So, but the song I had already written, and
I'm sorry to interrupt. When you wrote that song, did you have her in mind, or you just were writing? You did.
No, it was completely Whitney in mind.
Oh, you had Whitney in mind. Okay.
And I don't know. It's so. I remember I wrote it definitely in this house that I had in Atlanta.
Okay.
Which was down the street from LA's house.
Okay.
But I don't know how I
came up with
it because it was so different than everything else that I'd been doing. But it was just it was fun, and then I kind of started humming the melodies and everything. And then it just turned into this thing, and so it was unique, but it felt like it was special.
Yeah.
And our goal at that point was to give her something more R&B.
Oh yeah.
Because she was trying to do the R&B album.
Right.
But that was not normally. That wasn't very R&B.
No, it wasn't.
It was something.
Yeah, it was a little.
It had to, exactly, but it wasn't necessarily
right.
Black.
No, it was in between. It wasn't super poppy. I feel like it was in between.
It was in between.
Yeah,
so, and I guess that was
that worked.
That's what was called for at the moment.
Yeah,
because we ended up getting a #1 R&B and a #1 pop as well. That was our first #1 pop record.
Oh, Whitney did that.
Whitney did that.
Yeah.
So it was, we were excited to work with her in the first place.
Right.
But when she came in and she started singing, it was like, that's Whitney Houston singing, and that's her voice, and that's like,
Because was this her second album that she was working on?
This might be her third.
Her third album. Yeah. Okay, so she was already established. She was
already established, and she was established. She was winning everything.
Yeah.
And that's when she had got booed at the Soul Train Awards, and so that's when we got her after she got booed.
Okay.
And so we were supposed to bring the blackness, so to say. And it was there that, we played this, she had heard the song, she performed that. She came down to my house, and I played her a couple other songs. I think it was a song called Miracle, and maybe
Something from Wait and Tell, right? That later went
Why Does It Hurt So Bad? Then? Yeah. I played her a couple things.
And so she said no to Why Does It Hurt So Bad and Miracle.
She said no to both of them.
She said no. Okay, she said no to both of those.
So yeah, she told me no.
See that? Okay, but that wasn't the first. That was a big artist to tell you no, though.
Yeah, but
you had heard no's before.
I heard no's before. Yeah. I've been getting no's all my life, so that's like, all right, okay. I got to try another one.
Right. But when she first heard "I'm Your Baby Tonight," she loved that. Did she love that record?
She loved that.
Okay.
And so that's why she came down to record.
Okay, and so it was a good time. When you guys were in the studio, did she talk about getting booed? Was she still hurt from that, or she was like, just help me?
That wasn't. Yeah, that was.
Just help me get.
There was no conversation about that. It was kind of like, witnessed it, and it's like, okay, move on. She was hurt about it at the time,
right?
but got past it and knew that she had to work hard to, come back.
What was the next record that you guys did for her?
I think there was on that album we did this song that we didn't write a song called "My Name's Not Susan." Produced that.
Okay, I like that.
And I don't know what else.
Okay.
I think we did it. It could be something else. I don't really know.
Okay. I mean, but later I want to talk about the Waiting to Exhale record. But you did those 2 records. You did.
Yeah.
Came out later. What record did you keep that you wish that you gave away, or do you have a record that you kept that you wish that you when you hear it, you're like, I could have heard somebody doing this?
There might be something. I don't know what it. I don't know what it is at this point.
Okay.
Most of the time, the questions come to me is what records do you think you should have kept for yourself instead of giving to someone else? And I've always looked at myself as a songwriter first, and the song goes to where it should go.
Okay.
And so, and that song always takes precedence over where it should be. And if, like, I couldn't have done End of the Road, I could have, but it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been End of the Road.
Yeah.
So, and that's the point. Every song that you do, from all the Bobby songs and everything, where the songs get placed and when they're successful, they're successful because it's a marriage of the artist and that song.
Right.
That's what makes it happen. That's what gives it the life.
So you have to have no ego really when it comes to that, because I would be like, no, I'm gonna keep that.
Yeah, so keep it, and then like.
And then what?
And then what?
Yeah.
Let's say it's not as successful.
So right.
Why you want to do that?
Okay. What do you think is your biggest record? Because obviously I don't want to go by charts and Grammys and that kind of thing. What do you don't think
I haven't written it yet. That's how I think.
Really? That's really how you think?
Yeah, I haven't written it yet.
Really?
Yeah, I still got time.
Well, I'm not saying you don't have time, but I just feel like
it sounds like you saying I guess.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you had so many hits. I just kind of feel like.
I kind of feel like, you could say that, but I don't know that for me, the song that I just love the most, that I think it's like the greatest song. I don't know that I've written that yet.
Okay, it's still in there. Okay. Yeah. What do you think is your most underrated record?
The reason why it's hard for me to answer that, because usually when I write songs, even the ones that work, then I'm done. If they come on the radio, I usually change the station. I don't go back to listen to it again. I'm only forced to listen to it if everybody else in the room is listening to it.
Right.
And then maybe I'll listen. But other than that, I don't really spend the time going over them, because I'll start like
hearing things.
I should have did this and should have did that. And there might be something good about it, but I'll start trying to reproduce it again. So that same thing applies with when you think of songs that might be underrated. I might hear something that feels good to me, but then not necessarily to everybody else.
Right. So you have had songs that you thought maybe would have been bigger?
I've had songs that I wish maybe were bigger.
Okay.
Some artists that have come out with things. I have songs that I won't say, but songs that I gave to certain artists that I shouldn't have given it to them. I should have given it.
Right.
Might have had a better life of it. Here.
Right. It's interesting because I do feel like what you said about not listening to a record once it's done is kind of what actors do. Like sometimes actors won't. Yeah. They won't see the movie after they play the role. They're like, I don't want to see it.
Right. It's like I will not watch this because I hate to hear my talking voice.
Really?
Totally.
I will not watch this. That's good to know.
Nothing personal.
I don't like watching my stuff either. I'm just like, I'll can y'all turn that down? Like, I don't want to.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, I'm not.
You don't watch it to see how good.
I'll just have people tell me like what I need to work on and stuff like that, but I don't want to hear. Like, I just don't want to hear my voice like that.
Okay.
And I'm not a singer, so.
But do you like this tone of your voice?
I'm not in love with it.
You're not in love with it?
Yeah.
But do you think you're good?
I think I'm good. I'm just, I think it's the tone that I would like to be just, I don't know.
And what would the tone be?
I don't know, but not
lower,
this tone.
Lower?
Not higher, but like maybe just even, or like, because I talk fast too, so I would like it to be more, why are you interviewing me?
I'm just.
This is the therapy you probably give them before you write their song. You probably ask questions like
you're asking about me. So
I am.
I want to ask about you.
I am.
Why not?
So yeah, I would like it to be more even and a little less pitchy when I'm talking.
Yeah. So have you ever tried to like instead of talking to me, go down a little lower?
I do, but then I forget and then I go back to
what's
being myself.
And that's what they like about you. You being yourself.
I appreciate that. Okay, on that note, let's take a break and we'll be right back. We're back with Babyface and I want to get right back into the music. Specifically, I want to talk about this musical magic that you and Toni Braxton have. We love the music that you guys do together. There's like this chemistry that you and her have. I feel like you guys have the secret sauce. What is it about her talent or her personality that kind of you all are able to make these hit records together? It's like I don't know what I feel like it's a secret sauce or something.
I think the main thing that when we first heard Toni with her sisters, and she sat down at the piano and sung, the one thing I picked out of her voice was that she had this pain that was in her voice. And for me as a songwriter, I love pain. It's just early stories.
Right.
And that's what I could. That's where I write from whether it's love or what's a painful kind of thing, and she just has that voice that can deliver that. So it was an easy matchup from just early days from because that's where I was always writing, and so interesting because like the very first song that she did, that she kind of had success with, that she did one of the demos was "Love Should Have Brought You Home," which was actually written for Anita Baker.
So you wrote that for Anita Baker?
Yes.
Okay.
And
how did Toni end up getting it?
Toni ended up getting it because we sent it to Anita and she turned it down.
Okay.
Another turn
That's
down.
easy, yeah.
And she just said, when we sent it to her, she said, why don't y'all have that little girl singing that y'all sent it to? Y'all sent it to the one sing. She was good. She should sing good. And so she ended up singing it. She sung that, and she also sung "You Mean the World to Me," which was another song that I tried to give to Anita. That she
Anita turning all of them
down. But so to a certain extent, a little bit of that. There was a little bit of Anita in Toni Braxton early days, if you remember, because she sung like she had. Because I told Toni to sing like you got water in your mouth. The words aren't quite clear, but it kind of gives it a vibe.
Yeah.
And so Toni just kind of took on her thing, and she kind of found her way to where it turned out that Toni just has a unique voice.
Right.
And I was a good writer for it.
Right.
Writing from a place of, broken heart and pain. She's got had the perfect voice for that.
Right.
So I think it ended up being that. And so I was a good writer for her. And as it related to like the whole Love, Marriage, Divorce album, it's like it was really the way I look at it, was still more of a Toni Braxton album because it was really more of her singing.
Yeah.
I kind of would step in the background mostly because all the keys were her keys.
Right.
So it wasn't.
You did that intentionally though?
Well, it's either in her keys or, she wasn't gonna sing. So,
right.
So I kind of like, once again, was kind of through most of it. I feel like it still was more about her, her album, her voice pushed it, and I just kind of supported it because that was the voice that we were really pushing at that point. And the whole album wasn't done for me. The whole album was done because she was trying to like say that she didn't want to do music anymore. Because I think she was worried that whether or not she could have success anymore. So she and the whole idea of doing a duets album was if we do this, if it doesn't work, when you say, well, that wasn't really my album anyway.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I sold it. And fortunately it worked in that sense. It was and that's really just kind of what the whole connection was in terms of as it related to the timing of how it worked. And I know people always talk about how you need to do another one, but I think my feeling is sometimes you don't repeat things. it is of the time.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, once you go trying to do it again, it's not going to be the same. I'm always kind of like always ready to move on and try different things.
Okay. So we won't be getting another album together, collaborative album.
Probably
not. Would you do another album with another? I mean, because obviously we'll talk about in a second this new album. But would you do another album with another woman artist, just you, like you and Toni Braxton, or you think that's?
No, I don't. I think that's. I did that, and that doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Yeah. I like the fact that you we did this once, and sometimes, like you're saying, you go back to try to do something, and it's just like. If
you came back immediately, then maybe.
Right.
But once that time is gone, I don't think you can repeat it the same way. And music's changed.
Yeah. Yeah, it has.
And so it's like it's a different day.
I love you on Dancing with the Stars.
I don't even talk about that.
Is it?
I mean, you can, but don't talk about it.
No, I'm not going to talk about it. But now that you brought it up,
it was hard.
It seemed like it was
so scary.
I bet.
Frightening.
Every night.
The most frightening thing I've ever done in my life.
Really?
Ever.
Really?
Ever.
Was it because you were uncomfortable? It was what made you so nervous about it?
Well, let's start with I can't dance first. But we'll start with that. I mean, I could,
Yeah.
I can do two steps.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a challenge, and I did it really because my mom had just passed away, and I was trying to do things that would go out of my comfort zone and just keep pushing myself. And so when I started it, I was thinking in my head, I'm going to get this.
Okay.
And I was thinking, we're performing in front of people, so I'm good with that. But every time I would walk out on that floor, the nerves would take over my whole body, and I could not get rid of them.
Really?
And I was like, why can't I shake this off?
Right.
I said, okay, all right, let's go.
Right.
And then it would grab me,
over you.
and I just couldn't control it. And I was kind of amazed by it. It became a science project. Okay, you need to be able to get rid of this, but I couldn't. So I was like so glad to get away from there, because, it would be to the point to like, for the longest time, every time I drive down the street, drive past CBS, I get nervous.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's like,
oh my goodness.
It's like hearing I Want You Back.
You were like having a low-key panic attack.
Yes.
Are you glad you did it though?
I'm glad I did it. It was because it was still something that I pushed myself, and in all honesty, if I didn't have to be on TV again, I would even try it again, just to even push myself, just try to get past that, to see whether I could conquer that, because that was weird for me not to be able to conquer that.
Especially when you're so used to.
When you go on stage and but the difference is, it's because I'm going on stage doing something that I know how to do.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with it. And once I get into a zone, then I'm good. I could never get into my zone on the whole dancing thing. I did maybe 2 routines that were okay.
Yeah. Who taught you into that?
Who taught me?
You taught yourself into it?
It was me. Yeah. No one.
I loved it. But obviously you didn't. Okay. You wrote and produced one of my favorite soundtracks, Waiting to Exhale. Is there one song on the soundtrack that almost didn't make the cut?
No, everything made the cut because if there was one song, it might have been, I'm thinking out loud, there was the one artist that Whitney put on there that was, I forget her name right now, but it was her artist.
Okay.
And so it was kind of a last song that kind of came. How Could You Call Me?
Baby. Yeah. Sweetheart, how could you call me? Sweetheart, how could she be your lady? That song?
Yeah.
Thank you. Were mine.
Right, there you
go. Okay.
So we had to find a spot for that.
Okay.
Everything else was written for particular scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more of a question of what artist was going to do it.
Okay.
And when we talked about the project, initially when the project started, Whitney had not agreed to sing anything.
Okay. What was that about? She just wasn't in the singing mood?
She just did, she did Bodyguard and, and that's what everybody was excited about. Like, Whitney's going to do the song. And I was like, yeah, great. Mm-hmm. And then she comes and says, I don't know if I'm going to do anything. Really? And so I had to so I was really writing most of the songs with her not in mind. So Exhale actually came in as one of the last songs.
Who did you write that for?
It wasn't written for anybody. It was holding it back.
Okay.
We needed a theme for the movie, and so I finally had to come up with that. And then that's why the words shoot, shoot, it was kind of like just a
placeholder?
It's a placeholder.
Mm.
And then it felt so good that I was like, why change it?
Who convinced her, or what convinced her to actually do the song?
I think that I think she liked where things were going.
Okay.
She loved the film.
Okay.
I think she was unsure because she wasn't sure how the film was going to turn out and everything. Then when she was seeing some of the dailies and things, she said, "Oh, this is a good film. I think I want to sing." And not only did she want to sing Exhale, but we also wrote a song together. Will Count on Me, and we wrote that together.
Every song you say, I can hear a song in my head. How was that? I feel like that was probably such a magical time for you. That's such a classic soundtrack. All those artists.
It was kind of like everything else that I've done in my life. You do the work, and you kind of go through it, and you almost miss life in the same time. Mm. You don't sit there and try to soak it in while it's actually happening.
No,
because
you're in it.
You're just in it and doing it. So it's hard to. And then people praising it, you like, hey, thank you, but you're not sure.
Yeah.
But it was the first project that I had actually turned into Clive Davis, where he didn't have a note. And he said, it's perfect. And that was like crazy there. So it was definitely, hindsight, such an opportunity, to work with Forrest and work with, Whitney and everybody that we worked with. I didn't know that it would be as important as it was.
Okay. Let's take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Babyface is here to talk about the new album, Girls Night Out. I've heard the album.
Yes.
I'm super excited about it. Let's talk about, we have Ella Mai on there, Kalani, Money Long, Queen Naja, Ari Lennox. How were the artists actually picked for this project?
Well, the first, Kalani and Ari Lennox, those girls I kind of knew about, and so when their names came, it was great. Mm-hmm. But my partner Rika, who helped produce this album, she actually found all the girls and said, "You should listen to them. You should listen to this." So like she brought in, gave me a record of Tiana Major 9 and said, "You should check this out, check her out," because she hadn't really happened yet.
Yeah.
And I heard her voice. I said, "Oh my God, what a voice!" And then we got in the studio, and she just kills the song. I just hope great things happen for her because we want to hear that voice more.
Yeah.
And all the other artists that I wasn't aware of, she'd bring it in and I check it out and say, I'd either say a yay or nay on it. Mm-hmm. And there are some artists that came that I wasn't interested, but most of them were, because I had to be moved by whether I felt like I could do something with it.
Yeah.
And whether we could collaborate together.
Yeah. So also, I get that makes sense. More so like listening to them, like, okay, do I have something in there? Yes. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So walk me through what it was like making like a record for one of them, or was it something like you just wrote the record, or was
this wasn't like Excel in that sense because it was in Excel I wrote everything and they came in. This is the song, you sing it. Mm-hmm. This project was unique because everybody that came in, we wrote the song together. Mm-hmm. We had one day to write it.
For each artist, you only have one day?
One day to write it and sing it.
Was that intentional? You wanted to do it like that? Or that's the
time constraint? It started that way. It was a time restraint. Okay. It started that way and it stayed that way. Okay. So nobody got like, okay, we're going to work on a song for a week. We just kind of like come in for each day. And so this is like kind of speed writing, speed writing and speed producing. Because it was, and it made it special in that sense. So whatever that thought was that we had that day, and that's what we went for.
So, okay, so wait a minute. So, like, say I'm an artist, I come in, and I'm like, and you just like, so Jasmine, what's going on? Like, what is something, or I say, like, I had this idea, Babyface, and you're like, okay, well, let's hear it. Or you say, like, what are you going, how does that work?
It could be like that, but mostly like, so what's going on in your life?
Okay.
Are you in love? Are you broken hearted? Right. What do we want to write about? And they said, well, I'm not in love right now, but I'm feeling a certain way. Mm-hmm. And well, let's listen to some tracks. Okay. We either write something together or we'll listen to some tracks. tell me something that hits you.
Okay.
And so there'll be other producers I would work with that they submit tracks and we do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Some we created on the spot. You know, we did the whole like Can We Talk thing with Ella May. Did that with D Mile. And he kind of flipped it, and which was cool to do that in the spot.
How did y'all come up with that?
It was just a question of whether we should try to flip something that was funny,
already done,
and which was not an easy thing to do, is flip something
that's a classic
that you've already written and try to hear something different on it. So that's what was fun in writing it with Ella May. And so everybody, the difference here too is that every artist wrote for real.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
And they were all involved. It didn't happen unless they were writing.
Okay.
So and that was a requirement.
Okay.
So that it was a real collaboration, and that's what makes the album unique, because nothing is really similar to each other, because everybody,
it is different.
You know, and I went after that purposely, and I'm only saying just a little bit because once again, it wasn't really about me. It's about me trying to push these artists and show the world who they are, because there's so many young R&B girls that are killing it. And
right.
They have so much to bring, and so I'm glad to just be in the picture to help present them.
I'm sure some of them were intimidated when they met you for the first time.
Yeah, that seemed to be a running thing where they were nervous, but by the time we spent time together, then they'd see I was pretty regular. And
you are regular. I mean, you're kind of regular, but you kind of a star too. But I mean, you are kind of. It's a combo. I'm not in the studio with you though, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only a star in the sense of by what I've done.
Yeah, well, that's what most of us are stars.
Yeah, but some people can be stars and act like a star.
No, you don't. You don't give me that. So, I will say that.
And I think there's a difference. Because the first thing I say, you can say no if you don't like it. If you think something sucks, then say it. You know, I have no ego when it comes to that. You know, as you say, I've been turned down by a lot of people. So,
as I say, you said it first. I repeated it.
So I'm okay with you not liking something. It's not gonna hurt my feelings.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I would be scared to tell you no if I was.
And that's the problem that I have many times. It's like I gotta get them to the point to say, nah, tell me no. Yeah. Because I don't like to waste time.
Yeah. Who came up with the concept to have all these women, first of all, younger? Whose idea was that?
It was Rika. So I would like to claim it all, but
it wasn't you.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
And I thought it was because what happened with, I did Versus.
Yeah, Versus was really good.
And Versus was big in that sense, and I picked up a lot of new fans from that, and was trying to figure out, okay, so what's the next move?
What's the next?
And I wasn't sure what the next move was. Then Rika came up with it, and I said, okay, that makes sense. It's not Exhale, but it's kind of in that sense.
Right.
Kind of in that, but a little different tweak to it. There's no movie attached to it.
Right.
So and that's always the first thing most record companies say, well, let's attach it to a movie.
Yeah.
It's not really about that. It's about these girls.
Yeah. Were you nervous or apprehensive since they were so much younger? Or you wrote, I guess you've written for everyone, so.
What would the word be? What I want to make sure was that in this project, I didn't come off like the creepy uncle. In terms of doing duets with them, I didn't come off, like okay. So it was important, whatever we wrote and however I participated in it, that it came off like
that's so funny.
There was a purpose.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want it to be that way.
Okay.
And like I was, trying to chase being young or anything like that. I'm pushing the music and their music and the love of collaborating with new artists and keeping it fresh.
Okay. Which artist surprised you the most?
There were a lot of surprises, but so the artist that I was unaware of, Tiana Major 9 when she came in, I was unaware of that. Coco Jones, I had no idea she
could. A beautiful voice.
And there's but then people that I even knew, and Ari Lennox started singing, and like, wow, it becomes a wow. And then even with Ella May, to hear her tone in person and stuff. So everybody was, it wasn't always a surprise, but just a nice feeling to know that, okay, this is quality.
Okay.
This is great to have this and be a part of this project. And I was happy to be a part of it and be a part of this new generation of, young girls that are out there killing it.
Yeah.
The biggest difference to me in young artists today, they're far more independent than they were before. They have a voice. Mm-hmm. They have something that they want to say and things that they will not say. And I just I have nothing but respect for that. So it's cool to see that. They didn't have to wait till they sold a bunch of records to feel like they could have a voice.
Right.
They're already walking in feeling like they got that voice.
Confidence. And I do love that. I feel like all of them have different sounds. Like I can hear each individual. It doesn't have the same sound.
Right.
And then you got Angie Martinez. I love the mix of her at the beginning, and yeah. I think that's dope. Okay, well, don't go anywhere. We still have more Brutally Honest with Jasmine Brand. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's good.
I'll see you next time.
Yes.